I'm Jeffrey and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be covering social anxiety disorder. Disclaimer, this video is not meant as a self-diagnostic tool. This video is strictly for educational purposes. Please consult with a licensed mental health professional for a professional assessment. In this video, we're first going to be addressing what is social anxiety disorder. Secondly, we will be talking about the prevalence rate, meaning how many people in society battle with social anxiety disorder. Third, we will be discussing evidence-based tools that one can use to be able to cope and manage with social anxiety disorder. So let's get to it. So what is social anxiety disorder? I will be referencing the DSM-5 as a means to explain the diagnostic criteria for social anxiety disorder. To be diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, all of the following criteria must be met. Number 1, marked fear or anxiety about one or more social situations in which one fears scrutiny by others. Basically, it's not the fear of social situations, it's the fear of being judged and scrutinized in those social situations. Number 2, the individual fears that based on the way they act or by showing anxiety symptoms that they will be negatively evaluated. Number 3, the social situations almost always provoke fear or anxiety. Number 4, the social situations are avoided or endured with intense anxiety. Number 5, the fear or anxiety is out of proportion based on the actual threat posed by the social situation. Number 6, the fear, anxiety, or avoidance persists for 6 months or longer. Number 7, the fear, anxiety, or avoidance causes clinically significant distress in social, occupational, or other significant areas. Number 8, the fear, anxiety, or avoidance cannot be attributed to a substance or to a medical condition. Number 9, the fear, anxiety, or avoidance cannot be better explained by another mental health condition. Number 10, if another medical condition is present, the fear, anxiety, or avoidance is clearly unrelated or excessive. Now I will go over the prevalence rate of social anxiety disorder. According to the DSM-5, the prevalence rate for social anxiety disorder is about 7%. That means that roughly 1 in 14 people are diagnosed with social anxiety disorder. Now I will be going over 4 evidence-based steps to be able to cope and manage with social anxiety disorder. Step 1. Many times in social situations, we fear the scrutiny or we fear being judged by others. So we really got to think about what is it that we fear? And what we want to do is create kind of like a coping plan to be able to deal with those fears. A coping plan is basically a plan that can help us deal with the worst possible scenario in a social situation. So let's say that we fear humiliation and rejection by others. So then we would go over, okay, let's say that does happen, that does occur. What can we do to be able to manage that situation so that we can overcome it, so we can let it not tear us apart? So something that we can put in a coping plan is, within the situation, after being rejected or humiliated, we can ask ourselves, how will this impact us 5 years from now? So it's like distancing ourselves from what just happened. Another thing that we could add to the coping plan is knowing how we're going to talk to ourselves if that does happen. So if somebody rejects us, humiliates us, what can we tell ourselves so that this doesn't have such a negative impact on us? So maybe something like, okay, this was really bad, but hopefully I don't have to see that person again, or at least I'm not in that situation anymore. So it's just engaging in useful self-talk and putting that in the coping plan. Also in the coping plan, we could add like a self-care activity after it occurs. So you could even plan out like having a bath or going for a walk or even treating yourself with ice cream or just something like that. Just knowing that if it does happen and you are rejected or humiliated in public, that, okay, well, that happened and I'm gonna do this activity afterwards, or just even putting myself in that situation. It's best for your coping plan to be individualized to you. It's best to modify it and personalize it with the help of a therapist. After completing the coping plan, we want to move to step number 2. Step number 2 involves accepting anxiety. So what I mean by accepting anxiety is that many times we believe that we shouldn't be anxious in social situations, so that we should just be confident in social situations or whenever we're at a gathering. However, if we have that unrealistic expectation, we're bound to not engage in the following step, which is exposure. Just understanding that it's okay to feel anxious. It's okay. It's like a pebble in the shoe. It's okay to feel anxious. It's okay that your heart is racing really fast. It's okay to have sweaty palms. It's okay to be shaking. It's almost like we fear having the anxiety instead of just accepting that we will experience anxiety in those social situations. It's almost as if the more we're willing to accept it, the less anxiety will impact us. So this moves us into step number 3, which is exposure. When I think about exposure, I relate it to like when we first go into a pool. When we first enter a pool, it's kind of cold, it's uncomfortable, but after a few minutes, the water becomes much more comfortable and less shocking to the system. So exposure kind of works the same way. When we first enter a social situation, we might have that anxiety, but if we're able to stick around long enough, then the anxiety will decrease with time. And the more we expose ourselves to social situations, the less anxiety we will have. Let's say you were engaged in public speaking. The first time that you give a speech, you're probably going to be very nervous, very anxious. But let's say you had to do a speech every day for the next 1,000 days. By day 1,000, your anxiety will be much lower and potentially non-existent. That brings us to step 4, which is to reflect on our experience. So after engaging in exposure, I want you to think, what does this say about me? And really think about that. Potentially it means that you were able to face one of your darkest fears, or it means that you have courage, or it shows that you can do it despite the anxiety. So just reflecting on that experience will be good, and being able to cope with social anxiety and essentially manage it and decrease the impact that it has on your life. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or any future video suggestions, please put them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.